Hello and welcome to a new series here from York Attractions. And I'm here at the York Dungeon first. I don't really know much about this one. So yeah, there's a sort of unique kind of dark ride at the end of it with a sort of motion simulator kind of thing. I'm really interested in seeing what that's going to be like. But the actors are normally great in these. It looks a bit more unique than some of the other ones. And it's the first attraction I'm doing in York, so I'll see when I come out, because obviously you can't film in these. And I've just survived the York Dungeon, and I have to say this is my favourite dungeon. Now, it seems longer. I mean, it says 75 minutes, and I think they're normally about 40 minutes. But the theming in there is incredible. There's also a unique dark ride in there, which was better than I was expecting it to be. Extremely immersive. But it's all very unique scenes in there. There's a lot of added scenes. It's not like some of the others where there's like a similar scene and then it's been like replaced with like a similar scene just based on a different place. There are completely unique scenes that have been added as well, which is amazing and fantastic in there. So the first scene, there's like a little pre-show that just kind of rolls through that you're going to be entering into the dungeons, and then you go into the York Minster, which is, or you've got the archways on the ceiling, and there's a little plinth, and the actors in there writing down in there, but one of the people who gets picked out. And it's just a nice start scene, really. But there's like a thunderstorm, and the actor kind of appears. Around the room, and then you go into the Viking scene, which is a completely unique scene to this dungeon, and it's really impressive. You got like the sort of beams around the room, like. And you're in like a tent. There's like a projection screen outside the tent. And you've got to learn how to be a Viking and act like a Viking, and speak like a Viking. And then you've got all these Viking shields around. And outside, you've got the Viking battle going on. That you can see the silhouettes outside the tent, and the actors in there, just like reacting to like who's going for with like the battle. I head into the next scene, which was the Plague Doctor. But you can see him up there. Yeah, actually, which is pretty good. There was a really good actor in there, so obviously she pulls out the bits, and she likes pulling out the bits, but she's really slow with saying everything. She just like stared at this one guy for ages in there. Brilliant. It really was. She pulls out the heart, and you feel the leeches underneath the seats. The theming is really good in there because it's all the way around. It's really immersive. And in that room, like, you've got all the walls are themed. There's like a poster with like how to cure the plague, or attempt to anyway. And then you've got the City of Ghosts, which you walk downstairs, you're going through the shambles, and you've got all these old buildings around. And then you go into a house. The actor's like sort of grieving because his master has like died in a burglary in there. All the walls again are themed. There's a portrait on the back wall, which I thought was a piece of theming at first, but that really comes into it later, because there's a ghost sort of story in there. So all the lights go off, and the actor appears around the room as well at different points, but all the lights go off. You got the portrait comes alive and sort of screams at you, and then you've actually got an actor who comes in like a hooded figure, who just stands in front of you, and then the lights come back on and you leave. You got the Guy Fawkes scene, which is just like projection mapped, but you've got Guy Fawkes and John there, and like on a the decapitated heads on a stick. They're seen as traitors, and obviously went to learn about gunpowder, and it is done with projection mapping, but the theming is very good in that room. So as much as there's no actors, You've got like crates on the floor. All the walls have got brick walls in, as they are in all the scenes. But yeah, that's probably my least favourite scene. Not because it's like a bad scene or anything, but just because it's like not really. It's not got any actors. It's just kind of the actors. It's just a kind of filler scene, really. But it's still another scene. It adds to the experience. Then you got the courtroom, the torture chamber, which is surprisingly late. Quite similar to all the other ones, really. Where you've got all the different torture equipment. Someone goes in the cage, someone goes on the chair, and you show them all the different, like what you take off the tongue with. There's another one where it says, and I'll give you a clue for this one, we can't use this one on the ladies, which is pretty much the same as all the other dungeons. However, I think that is the only one that's the same. You got the courtroom, which is again it's normally like right near the beginning, but with this one it's quite late. Fantastic. The judge is really high up. You got all the wooden walls themed around you. And he's, you're really looking up to him. And someone gets picked out. And there's like 3 different ones. The last one is just short because you just say where you're from, and then that's your crime. But there's quite a few. There's like 3 different ones. Those do last quite a while. But yeah, it's quite a good scene in there. You go through in there. Then you got the execution, which is and so I didn't mention. There are a couple of extra scenes in there, not in between. Like the beginning, you've got like a sort of underground scene. I think it's after the ghost scene, and then you go through like a mirror maze. But you're like in the sewers, and you've got an actor in there. There is an actor in that one. He got stuck down there, and he's a peasant. And then you go through the sewers, which is the mirror maze. It's a really good mirror maze because it's dark and the mirrors are really good in there, so they're not like dirty, so you can see. Like it's a good illusion in there. You can't see where you're going, and there's all vines growing down. There's even like poo on the windows because you're in the sewers. But yeah, that's another scene in there, which isn't really on the side of the building, but it is another extra scene. And you got the Curse of the Witch, which is probably my favourite scene on the ride. And I'll get on to the last bit because it's kind of a dark ride. So the Curse of the Witch is sort of similar to the other witch scenes, but it's very intense, like the strobe lighting in there. And you've got like a witch in a cage, and someone like coming in saying like there's an actor in there at the start, and then you go into the main like room, you sit down, and then the witch is like coming around the room and screaming, and like it gets really intense. It's like an audio drone, and then she's like sat in the cage, and then the other actor comes in and leads you into the theatre scene, which isn't again advertised on here, but it's another sort of jump scare with like a hooded figure in there, and you've got the set at the front. Another really great scene in there. And then you've got the Dick Turpin scene at the end, which is really immersive. It's a dark ride, and the ride system, it's like a carriage. And getting all the lights are in there. There's like air cannons that blast out the curtains, and there's even like the ride, because obviously it's a ride system, it's like a motion simulator, so it does move around. You feel the bumps and the jolts on the road, and the actor comes in and through like a little hatch in the front of the carriage, and then there's a sort of I'm back here at the dungeon to finish my review after York Chocolate Story. But yeah, I've just sort of looked back like for some of the scenes, and yeah, the execution, which I did miss on my review earlier. That is, it's like the gates to York City, and you've got these two decapitated heads next to it. There's like a skeleton above the doorway, and someone gets picked out to be the third decapitated head on the end. But when that person's executed, you get sprayed as well with like blood, and then the lights go off and you get sprayed, and the lights come back on, and he's like, oh, I must have missed. So let's just move on to the next scene. But you get like the actor steps into like the head chopper, and then this person has to hold the rope, and it starts lowering down. It's like, oh, hold the rope, come on. And it's like, well, I'll never let go of the rope anyway. But yeah, something I didn't mention, in the dark ride at the end, Dick's Back, is the name of that one. Yeah, there's a great jump scare in there where the seats drop down, and you see that in a few other dungeons, but I like it because it's a completely unique ride system in there that does move around quite a bit, and it's really immersive. And the thing is with that, and the highwayman actually comes in there and the seats drop, like it's extremely immersive, and that creates a great jump scare. I think that's the most effective I've seen that, because it's the fact it's used on the dark ride in this one, and it's a unique dark ride. It's normally in one of the other scenes. I think it's like the witch scene normally, but not in this one. And so there's quite a few good effects in this one, like in the Viking scene. There's like arrows shooting through the like the front of the tent, and as those arrows shoot, a light comes on so you can see the arrow, and then an axe gets thrown, and a light comes on so you can see like an axe, and the actor like ducks underneath, and then so he survives because he's like a Saxon peasant trying to save everyone from the Vikings. But I'm just really impressed with how long the experience is on this one, because it really is. It really is. Like a really full-on intense. It feels like the most intense of all the dungeons, and it's really well themed. The fact that all the rooms are completely themed all the way around, and in the torture room, if you look behind you, there's like a wheel with a skeleton on it, and you know, it's really immersive. It is really immersive in there, and I'm just really impressed by it. I think my favourite scene is the Curse of the Witch, just because of how intense it is, and it's really intense in there. Like, if you've done some of the other dungeons, you probably won't expect it to be as intense as it is. Like, yeah, the witch scene's normally the most intense because it is the finale, but this one is really full on. And then Dick's Back is my favourite element. As much as it's more of a dark ride, it is kind of a scene as well, because you've got the actors in there. I did get the photo package, so I'll put them at the end. One of them's actually from the witch scene, which I've never seen before, but it's like the fright cam, and it's like from the witch scene in there, which is fantastic. It really is. And you know, it's just really immersive in there, and it really makes this dungeon, in my opinion, the best one. And because of how long it is, it really crams a lot of scenes. I mean, this isn't even all of the scenes on the side of the building, because there's obviously the extra like projection shows and the theatre scene as well. So yeah, it's certainly the best one, and I think it's the one with the most scenes, because there's a lot added to it. There's the 3 standard scenes: the Plague Doctor, the courtroom, and the torture chamber. The Curse of the Witch, which obviously is a sort of adaptation of some of the other ones, but a lot more full on. And then there's a really unique dark ride at the end of it.